This is Unlocking the Power of AI, 30 days of social media content in 30 days, 30 minutes or less. The reason why I love this topic is it's a very practical thing that you can do, but also it really gives me an opportunity to demonstrate where AI has got to and to give you some tips and ideas about how to use it in general. You will absolutely, during this process, see how to do all this social media content and do it very, very well. But in addition, you'll be able to take what you learned today and apply it to so much more of what you want to do in AI. It is an interesting week for AI. It is November 9th, 2023, for anyone watching the recording. And on Monday of this week, OpenAI did their developer day and announced so much that it's incredible how much has it changed. I have never worked in an industry that has evolved at this speed, right? I was there kind of at the beginning of the internet, and then we had the World Wide Web, and then we would have every few years sort of major progressions, the browser wars, et cetera, et cetera. Major shifts would come every 3 years or so, and then that started to creep down a little bit, and I really feel has slowed down lately. AI is monthly, sometimes weekly. And the difference between OpenAI releasing version 3 about a year ago when all of the fuss kicked off in January versus what they announced this last Monday is utterly, utterly wild. It is like 5 to 10 years worth of internet development. So some of the things I'm going to show you today, if you've used ChatGPT before, you will be familiar with, or you might not be familiar with, but also if you use it in a week or two, it won't look the same already based on what they announced on. And just to keep this webinar entertaining, I don't know as I start to go through this which version it's going to present to me in each of the different steps that we do. So you and I are on a bit of a journey of discovery today, which is always fun. There's a couple of prime points I want to make. First one, look at this quote at the bottom. It is not AI that's going to take jobs and kill companies. It is the early adopters using AI that are going to do that. It is going to be you on this call and people like you who are going to be the ones that win. It's as simple as that. AI is not a fad. It's here. The capabilities are growing. Where it goes to over the next few years is mind-meltingly fun to think about. But it is you who's going to benefit and be able to do so much more stuff. For those of you that don't know me on this call, very briefly, my name's Dax. I've spent 25 years now, which is probably why I'm going gray, building ad tech companies, ad agencies, and relevant to this also, at 84futures.com, writing about the future impact of technology on society. And so I love this stuff. I could talk about it all day. Ask me any question you want to. There is really no such thing as a silly question. Mitchell says chat is not enabled. That is good point. Let me quickly see. Chat. Let's see. Mitchell, I will see what I can do about that as we go through. Feel free to use the Q&A section, though. Use it for comments, use it for questions, and I will just treat it like it's chat. So feel free to use that Q&A box. Okay, so things I want you to know before we get started. AI, probably peak hype, nowhere near peak performance. Everyone's talking about AI, and they're talking about it so much that I think some people are already starting to think, is it a fad? Is it the next crypto? Is it this? Is it that? It's none of that. The capabilities are very, very real, but the trouble is the hype has got so high that in some cases the hype is bigger than the reality. And we're going to look at a key consequence and lesson about how we use it coming from that. Even after the capabilities announced on Monday, which we'll do a whole nother video on at another time, we are still so far away from this being peak performance. But I tell you what, we're at a hell of a surprising point of performance. Secondly, it's not perfect. It likes to please you, so it likes to dream. Sometimes it makes stuff up. Sometimes it creates things. You need to be aware of these things no matter what tool you're using. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. And again, back to what they announced this week, it's been up and down like a yo-yo this week on the front end, right? There's OpenAI, the company, and ChatGPT is the front, and then there's all this API background stuff that we build against. The front end stuff has literally been up and down. And as of this morning, it was down for 3 hours, which means prepping for this was fun. It will not do 100% of it for you yet, right? It is a tool, not the final total solution. And so it is something you work with, not something that is working for you autonomously. If you're using it for marketing, which probably most of you on this call are, given the topic of social media, it is not going to make shitty marketing less shitty. It's as simple as that. You have to have a good basis of knowledge of, okay, this is kind of how marketing works. You don't need to be a director of marketing or a manager of marketing, but you have to have some basic understanding. And you can have ChatGPT teach you that, of course. But if you just go in with terrible ideas and terrible principles, unless you're really asking it to guide you and help you and correct you, you're just going to make more of shitty marketing. So keep that in mind. Despite all of this, it's going to be better tomorrow. Like every day, it is a little bit better. And ironically, on Monday, when they announced all these new enhancements, some of which we're going to use today, they also made it a third of the price cheaper. So yay, great, better, faster, cheaper. The shopping cart test is an interesting one. Some of you might know it. There is a morality test of humanity that looks at whether when people come out of the supermarket, out of the store, do they return the shopping cart, the shopping trolley, to its rightful place, or do they just leave it wherever they want to? That is a morality test that has been in society for a long time. I argue that today's morality test is, are you polite to the AI? Do you sometimes say please and thank you? Do you sometimes tell it that its output is good? It might sound silly. I think it matters. We definitely know very small tweaks to a prompt matter. And so you're going to get a different output, whether you say please or thank you. As one of my co-founders says, though, he also would like to have been one of the people who said please and thank you once the AI becomes entirely sentient and knows who we all are. Now, as a great example of, I'm going to come back to that, as a great example of using AI in day-to-day life, I actually had ChatGPT play around with the shopping cart morality test. And I wasn't quite sure of it whilst I was doing this, so I had to ask top left-hand corner, first of all, little Google search on what exactly it was. Okay, great. It's the theory about the decision to return the cart. Perfect. The middle screenshot is me taking that information from Google and putting it into ChatGPT and asking it to make me an image, to which then it went off and made an image. Okay, and I'm going to show you those images because not only is this a wonderful example of, I was just doing something, I was building this presentation, I liked the shopping cart morality test comparison, therefore I thought it'd be fun to include it. Great, let's make some images to represent that. Took me about 3 minutes, and the outcome is really surprising. So this is the 4 images that it made me as an example. You can see the top left and bottom left are quite religious based. They are about taking your shopping cart to ascend into heaven or something similar. Maybe the top left one's a little bit more alien-like. The bottom left one is a little bit more heaven-like. Top right is a side-by-side comparison of human society, of chaos versus order, and what you're doing with your shopping cart. And bottom right is an incredible complex set of hell, which is this test of character maze it came up with an almost endless line of shopping carts doing it. So it's just a bit of fun, but I want you to get into this routine that one of the first places you go to for everything you are doing for any particular task is ChatGPT or Bard that we're going to look at later. Okay, so let's skip back a couple. Very briefly, what is FOMO AI? We're obviously really believers that a lot of us were feeling like we were missing out, having this fear of missing out around AI. So there are 2 ways we help you. One is we build these co-pilots that essentially are this very unique way that we can give you guided DIY use of AI, and we help them automate your business. We'll talk about it briefly later. And then the second one is full AI services, full consulting, helping you understand how AI can benefit your business in all sorts of ways, custom AI training, and also building of custom AI solutions for you. We'll revisit later, not the primary reason why we are here today. So, who is it that you think you're talking to? On the left-hand side is a representation of an all-encompassing, all-capable AI thing. Interestingly, I didn't have to prompt it for it to make a female-looking one this time, and there has been a lot of rightful debate around all sorts of equality in the use of AI. I was very pleasantly surprised that its default that it went with was female. On the left-hand side, if we were to imagine the AI like ChatGPT is like this somehow, we will fall into the trap of thinking it is all-encompassing. It can do everything. We just tell it briefly what we want it to do, and off it goes and does it. I don't want you to have that feeling about AI because we're not there yet. We will be. Lots of societal consequences to that thought, but we are not there yet. Where we are is we're on the right-hand side of this picture. You have a virtual, unlimited team of people that you can add to for free whenever you want to, just by changing a prompt, who will sit there waiting your every command and will help you and guide you and do work for you. That's where we are. And so if that's the case, we're not going to enter a conversation with AI by saying, hey, I have a new business, go do my marketing. I mean, it's going to go do some stuff. It's trying to please you. It's going to be crappy, right? It's not going to be what you wanted. It's going to require a lot of fixing and tweaking, or you're just going to be disappointed and walk away from it. And that is one of the reasons why, as I say, AI is peak hype, but not really peak anything else, because that's how people have been trying it. Yeah, don't like the output. This is crap. This is overhyped. Not really believing these stories. I'm done. Right-hand side, you're the boss. You have this team. So what do you do with a team? Well, first of all, you often have to pick who on your team is the right person to work on a task. You have to help them understand what it is that you want. You should give them a chance to ask questions. And if they're junior, you should encourage them to ask you questions to get the best output. You should understand that they're going to try and do a good job for you if they're a good team member, but they might not get it right, and that's okay. And then sometimes you should also understand a random person on the team might have a better idea than the person whose job it is to actually do it. Keep this in mind as we go through what it is that we are going through today. Now, the other thing I want you to do, just like the creating the shopping cart problem, is I want you to think of AI as something fun. This is not a CRM like a HubSpot or an Active Campaign, or this is not a website builder. This is not a tech marketing tool. If you can get it into your head that you can actually do silly and fun things with this as well, then great. You're going to get more comfortable with it quicker, and just go use it. And I'm going to show you 2 very quick use cases for that. But it's then going to give you more creative ideas about how to work with your virtual AI team to not only produce 30 days of social media content, but to produce anything at all that you want to. So we have this playground, and we're always messing around and trying different ideas. And I'm going to briefly show you 2 videos. Neither of them have sound, so I'm going to talk over them and explain to you what I'm seeing. I see a couple of people I know on the call who are in Denver. These were both shot at the Tattered Cover bookstore down on Colfax, just out of general interest. You're about to see in each of these videos me interacting with Google Bard, right? So OpenAI, heavily invested with Microsoft, they own a big part of OpenAI owns ChatGPT, and that is strongly connected to Microsoft. Bard is owned by Google. Bard.google.com is how you access it. It is entirely free right now. And I'm on my cell phone, as you can tell from this, and I went into the Tattered Cover bookstore, and I took a picture of all the shelf of the used books. And I said, this is the used book section at my local bookstore. Please list what books are here and tell me if any are of particular value for resale. And for those of you that know the Tattered Cover, I was stalling and adding to the length of this prompt because you can see the image I took spinning and spinning and spinning because the Wi-Fi in there and the cell signal is absolutely appalling. So I was stalling for time. So I added, do you recommend I read any of these particular books? And Bard now is ingesting that image, something ChatGPT can do now too, and is going to respond to this. And it is wild. I want you to think about this for almost any circumstance that you work in your business. So it gave me, based on the image of the used book section at your bookstore, I can identify the following books. And not only did it read the vertical spines in those images, but it also categorized them for me. This is live. This is now just me scrolling through its answer. It's all happening in under 60 seconds. And then it told me about which ones are popular. So therefore, maybe that's how it got its recommendation. And then that's it. Like, that is mind-blowing little capability. And there's the picture I took. Word of caution about it not always working perfectly. I asked it how many books it had actually counted later, and I can't remember what it was, but it certainly wasn't all of them. And so that's a bit of an unfair picture, right? I could definitely have done it in smaller groups, and it would have had a better chance of being able to do that. Think about using something like this when you're creating social media content. So let's go into the second video, because this one's really fascinating and raises all sorts of issues about copyright, etc. I'm taking a picture of a card stand there, right? There were little square cards, sort of witty responses and things. This is a series of greeting cards. Can you write me 10 more, please, in a similar style? I'd like them to be poignant or witty, but not rude. I'd like some of them to be about AI. Again, I'm stalling for time whilst I'm waiting for that image to load on their signal. And let's see what it gave us, because I loved what it gave us. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Okay, here are 10 more greeting cards in a similar style to the one you provided, some of which are about AI. I may not be able to feel emotions, but I can still send you this card. That's witty. I like that. I'm not the smartest AI in the world, but I'm the only one sending you this card. That very much appeals to my British sense of humor, actually. I really like that one, and on and on. There is a rightful debate about copyright. As far as I know, these are original pieces of content, and I could use those as I wanted to. And that's a great and powerful thing. They are clearly informed by other people's work, as is a lot of work, right? And so we're going to have these rightful ongoing debates about using stimulus material to inform our next material. At the moment, anything you create in these tools is fair game for you to use. Does not mean, though, you have exclusive copyright over it. It may mean that anybody has the right to use something you generate from this, something for you to be aware of. And if you're working with clients, maybe something to make them aware of too. Okay, so let's go on to, we talked about the shopping cart. Let's jump in. Let's make 30 days of social media content in 30 days. If anybody would like to throw into the Q&A a type of business, made up, real, I don't mind. As silly as you can imagine, I don't know, an elephant rental company that you would like us to go with, then I will happily take that as a suggestion. If not, I think I will we'll go a little bit silly today, and we'll go with an elephant rental company, because who doesn't need an elephant rental company? Okay, so at the moment, this is what ChatGPT looks like. The main things you're seeing here are version 3.5 as one option and version 4 as the other. You only get exposure to version 4 if you are on the paid version. I cannot emphasize enough how much better it is. It's just considerably better. $20 a month is an absolute steal for the type of technology that we are talking about here. At the moment, you have to have a drop-down where you select things like DALL-E 3, which does image generation, browsing with Bing, which allows it to go off and look at the web, which is where we're going to start. What they announced on Monday, and will quickly roll out over the remaining 7 or 8, 9 days, is you will no longer have to select those things. They're a bit annoying. It will automatically do that for you. And so you won't even have to jump between different conversations that we are having. So off we go. Let me move the Zoom bar out of the way. Let's jump in. Hello. Because, shopping cart morality test. I would like your help. I have just started an elephant rental company, and I'm excited. We are going to make the social media for it, but first I need a name. You are an expert marketer, particularly good. So we're choosing someone on the team, particularly good at naming companies that are engaging, entertaining, and meaningful. Okay. My typing, by the way, is always embarrassing on these things. I grew up in England, and in my teenage years, I was forced to do woodwork, and my sister was forced to do typing. I know, just the way it was, boys and girls then, and I type like a 14-year-old carpenter. So, particularly good at naming companies that are engaging, entertaining. What do you need to know from me to help start this process, right? Think about our virtual team. We're not talking to a be-all, know-all thing here. We're saying, I want your help. I've just started something. I'm excited about it, right? Let's give it a bit of energy. We're telling it who we want it to behave like, and then we're giving it a chance to ask us questions, right? You wouldn't just walk into a room and say to a team of people, this is what I want, and then leave, right? So we hit go. Let's see what it does. Congratulations on the new venture. So it is going to ask us a whole bunch of questions, and a lot of these are very, very relevant. I already see it asking about USPs, target audiences, domain availability is kind of a very clever one. So what I'm going to do for today is I'm going to say, these are great. Imagine for now that this is a hypothetical situation. Please assume your own answers at this stage. And this is just to save me sitting here and making you watch me type out all these answers to our imaginary elephant rental company. Normally, you would take the time to go through those, and you could even ask it to ask you further follow-up questions if you wanted to. So apparently, we're initially local with plans to expand nationally. It's a friendly, educational, and approachable with a hint of adventure. I mean, that sounds pretty right. Here are some creative name ideas for your elephant rental company. Elephant Encounters, Gentle Giants Journeys, Pachyderm Pals. Okay, that's great. I definitely want to come up with that one. Trunk Tales, Savannah Soirees. It likes rhyming, doesn't it? Ethical Elephant Experiences and Conservation Caravans. Okay, well, great. We are going to go play with, I like Trunk Tales. Okay. I like Trunk Tales. Please, and again, we're being hypothetical because of time of a webinar. Please assume a hypothetical description of the business and the services, and it'll fix my spelling and understand that for me, which is great. At any time, if you're not that familiar with ChatGPT, you can say stop generating if it's going off on a whole tangent. And you can ask it to, you can then type something else. You don't need to sit and wait for it to go through all of these things. The other thing you can do, which you will see in a minute, is you can ask it to regenerate it. You don't need to type anything. You just hit a button and say regenerate. And sometimes that's great if you're like, it's close. It's not really what I was sort of shooting for there. And you'll see that button appear here in a second. Okay, great. So we now have all sorts of things. And of course, if you were answering those questions above rightfully, not hypothetically, it's now going to be giving you a tremendous amount of information, branding and marketing strategy, ethical commitments. I mean, fantastic, right? We're here to do social media. These are great and approved. Thank you. Please don't kill me when you become sentient. Let's say our first marketing mission is to create 30 days of social media content. Let's say for Instagram to start. Let's see. Let's think about content pillars. Again, think about proper marketing. What content pillars would you recommend for my new business? To what, right? To get a highly engaged audience from my posts, right? Now it's going to give you a very different set of output than if you had just said, if you had just said, what are my content pillars? By the way, here's that regenerate button if we didn't like the answer from above. Okay, so now we're going down this process. And if you don't know a marketing process, you can ask it to teach you the marketing process. So you could have said, I want to follow marketing best practice. What are the steps I should go through? And then get it to help you through the steps. Okay, so now it is giving us a, let's see, creating a content calendar with diverse pillars is a fantastic way to maintain an engaging and a dynamic Instagram presence. I do feel like I'm sitting in an agency pitch meeting, which I've been on both sides of. Okay, elephant stories, daily life snippets, histories. Okay, great. Behind the scenes, conservation education. I mean, these are great. I really like some of these. Okay, so here's what we're going to say. At the moment, I do not have physical access to the business. I am working remote. I cannot, therefore, take real photos or videos. Please choose 4 content pillars for month 1. And, that idea of saying I'm not physically there is great to fine tune this for those of you who work on agency side or freelance side, and you don't want to go there, or they're not paying you enough to go there, right? You don't want to be reliant on having to do photography. Please choose 4 content pillars for month 1 that can all include images that do not require my actual presence. Okay, so it understood that completely. So conservation education, easy for me to say. Elephant stories and fun facts, I'm loving these. Interactive Q&A and polls, so it's thinking back to our idea of engagement. And DIY conservation. I love these. Okay, so I would say we were going to take, let's assume each pillar is 1 week's worth of content. Let's start making. Take pillar 1 and generate a table. And this is a great tip. In the first column, I want the day of the month. The second column, I want the description to accompany the image. In the third column, I want a brief description of the image we should use. In the fourth column, let's have a reason for this particular post, such as engaging, educational. There's my typing like a carpenter again. Engaging, educational, interesting, etc. All right, let's see how it does. And you'll watch at the moment it builds tables in interesting ways. It sort of uses symbols and then comes back. Right, there you go. You just saw it. That's pretty amazing, huh? Here is our first 7 posts. And we said take pillar 1, and that was the educational pillar. So it would not surprise me if down the right-hand side, reason for post, education, little awareness, informative, call to action. Join the herd in making a difference. We're sharing ways you can contribute to elephant conservation from home. Wow. Okay. That's pretty great. Community focus, engaging. I mean, I think Trunk Tales and this elephant rental business is all on. Okay, so at the moment it's saying for the images, you would need to source stock photos, etc. We're not going to do that. We're going to jump over in a minute and we're going to start using DALL-E 3 to do image generation. That's a bit annoying at the moment. However, that is not what is going to be needed within a day or 2, maybe a week, depending where you are on the rollout schedule. It will know in the same chat, DALL-E 3 exists, and it can just create the images for you, right? It's not doing that for us right now. I'm going to say, I have heard that Insta posts do much better if they are long form and contain relevant hashtags. Please recreate the table for the first 3, just for time on this. Taking that into account. Obviously, you'd be doing this for all of them. And at any point, you could say, you know, I really like these. I don't like number 6, or number 6 isn't relevant. It's that feedback to that team, right? Great job, team. There's some really amazing stuff in here. Love it. However, 6 is off base. Let's go down this or come back to me with an entirely new idea. And look, here we go. And now it's automatically added an extra column for us of hashtags. This is brilliant. Now, let me see if it's done something which is interesting for you to see. Yeah, so interesting. The first post description was a journey through the wild. This week, we dive into the importance of conserving elephant habits. Let's see if it just recreated a first one with understanding the predator ecosystems. I would say it sort of built it off that first one. I could have been more specific in my prompt and said, I want you to keep the first one, but I want you to expand on it. And that would have given us a different output. Okay. Now, you will also notice that you'll also notice that it's gone for an infographic in some of these. And that is a perfectly good suggestion. That is not going to be much help to us right now. We'll do a separate video on how you get DALL-E 3 and ChatGPT to do you infographics. That is not something we're going to do with a single prompt. So here's what we're going to do. Let's simplify this table so I can give it to an image generator. Keep columns 2 and 3 and replace the content in col 3 with a prompt for an image generator. Okay. Oops. That was about my worst spelling today. Okay. So now we're just doing this so we can copy and paste it across. Again, based on the date it is and the rollout, you won't need to even do this copying and pasting over. Okay, this is much better for what we need for the next step. And we are going to copy this table. Okay, lovely. Let's choose one which seems most fun. Let's take this one. And at the moment, we have to go new chat, GPT-4, select DALL-E 3. Hello. We are making social media content for Trunk Tales, our elephant rental company. And normally up until the announcement Monday, I'd go into more detail, make sure it had the context. We don't need it for this. You're not going to need it in the future. So we'll just keep this rolling so that I can show you something else fun with image generation in a minute as well. I am going to give you a Instagram post and a prompt for the image. Please make a square image for this Insta post. Okay, copy and paste, go. Now, DALL-E 3, you're going to see it saying it's now creating images, which is great. DALL-E 3, so much better over DALL-E 2. If you played with DALL-E 2 and you were disappointed, DALL-E 3 is just a whole different ballgame. This will take a couple of seconds, sometimes 30 seconds, depending on how busy it is. But it looks like we are there. I mean, whoa, that's pretty damn good. Let's see what we said. They are nature's landscapers. They topple trees, creating clearings that foster new growth. Their dung is a seed-spreading marvel, giving life to the plants far and wide. I mean, I did not think we'd be on dung spreading today, but here we are in a live webinar. Biodiversity is crucial, blah, blah, blah. Create an image of an elephant in the act of knocking over a tree in a dense forest with birds and other animals in the scene to indicate that life that thrives because of that elephant's actions. I mean, come on. Come on, DALL-E 3. That's pretty damn impressive. It is not great at the moment at taking in instructions such as Let's keep that image, but let's make some tweaks. But it will generate you other images. But now I'm going to say I want wide, just to show you the difference, because Insta's great as square, other things are not. This is amazing. Let's make a wide version. And let's see to what extent it keeps what it started with. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's just an entirely different image. Any questions at all, keep throwing them in that Q&A. I will come to them. We're going to look at Midjourney in a minute, which is useful for some other things. Let's see. Wow. Okay. I mean, that is eye-catching, right? I mean, that is really kind of cool. I don't know if it necessarily shows the idea of it sort of knocking the tree down, but I mean, wow, that's pretty great. Looking like a little Cinderella story here, and it's even put like a curved lens effect on it. I mean, I'm not unimpressed. Okay, just so you know how far you can go with this, can we, our style, let's just be silly. Our style is, I feel like this is an improv class, is cartoon bubble. Let's have a new version, please. I was in London last week and I went to an improv show at the Comedy Store. If you haven't been to a Comedy Store in London, when you get a chance to go to London, or if you live there, go. It's amazing. Piccadilly Circus down in the basement. And they were doing improv and you had to say positions for them to shout out in. And I'm not normally the sort of person that shouts out at improv classes, but I kept giving them positions that were really hard, like 3-minute plank. I entertained myself. They were less entertained. There you go. Look at that. Cartoon bubble style image is now ready for you to view, right? You can see now how you can build out your content pillars. You can get those in a table. You could copy and paste that into a sheet and send it to a client or work on it for your own business. You can use your image generation. It's that exact process we just went through, repeated to generate a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever you need it to do. Now, I'm going to jump back to something here and say, you'll see sometimes, by the way, when you jump back, it doesn't always load first time. And you're like, oh, where'd it go? Please take those 3 posts and turn them into tweets. Follow best practices for tweet character count and how to make them engaging, and use hashtags. So now we're taking all of our posts and now we're going to make them into tweets. By the way, as of Monday, this model, language model, that's what sits behind these AIs, this model is now updated to knowledge from up until April 2023. It was September 2021 until last week. I wasn't sure if you're aware, but it is now April 2023. So it knows more. It will know Twitter is now X, I think. It will know Threads from Facebook exists and a little bit about it. There you go. There's your tweets. Right, on and on, any channel you want to. That's a hell of a lot of social media content. And whilst I waffled on with a lot of different examples, we did ultimately generate a lot of that social media content in a very, very short period of time. I'll give you one more example, and then I'll show you doing image generation in DALL-E. And I think I see someone on this call who will know exactly where I am talking about. I'm going to take the Stanley Beer Hall in Denver. And I am going to go to their menu. And let's go with, we'll take this menu. It's a bit of a live test. We're going to go new chat 4. Make sure we're in browsing mode, which again, you won't have to soon. This link is to the menu of a restaurant that I do social media for, just based off of this link. For now, please propose 30 days of social media content. I'm going to give it very little context, always a dangerous thing to do, right? I'm like throwing an instruction into a meeting room full of people and telling them nothing. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff here that is going to be wrong. For the first thing that's not going to work, it is that, oh, and they actually do have a broken URL structure, which is why you're seeing the pound 26. Let's see if I can get their brunch menu to work. Try this one instead. By the way, we haven't had a single person drop off the webinar. I really appreciate that. Do keep your questions coming if you have any. Let's see. Okay, so it says based on the brunch menu. Great. That's all we gave it. We gave it no context. We gave it no instruction. We've told it nothing about who the customers are, etc. And it's going to write out here 30 days worth of ideas. These are going to be pretty basic, primitive ideas because we gave it nothing. I can't emphasize that enough. But you can see how you can feed it information, and you can, and then you can have it learn from it. I wonder if Elephant Sanctuary news. I don't know what the Elephant Sanctuary is, but let's have a look. I mean, I get the basic idea of what it is. Let's go back to our elephant rental company. We're in web browsing mode. Are there any new ideas you would have if you learned from this? You're going to start hearing about ChatGPT launch these things called GPTs, or assistants. It's a whole nother world of capability where you can teach it stuff and learn stuff. We did an experiment the other day where we fed it 1,000-page textbook on statistics, and it became a statistics professor. And it took 20 minutes to make that, and it's free. We'll make more content on it. But this is a good example of, even with this front end interface, you can do some pretty cool stuff by feeding it things here. Huh, that's interesting. Animals' personal items. I had no idea about allowing elephants to keep personal comfort items. I mean, why would I? You can feed this in. You can add it to your content pillars. Great. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to assume we're all comfortable with the idea of we just replicate that process, doing week by week, doing our tweaking, creating our imaging. Might take a few hours in total, depending on how picky we are. But in theory, if you're feeding in enough information up front, you're going to create that content in under half an hour. And then you can really just build on top of it and have it ongoing. These threads on your left-hand side will stay there as long as you interact with them within 30 days. So you can go back to it and you can add to it. So you can go back to this thread a month from now, 29 days from now, and say, I'm ready to make another month's worth of content. Ask me questions about how last month's content performed before you start making it. And you can give it some feedback just like you would an employee. Okay, let's hop to Discord. So Midjourney is an image generator. It's very different. I think it's more creative. It's a dreamer rather than an interpreter. To get to Midjourney, you have to use Discord. And Discord, if you're not techie at all, is like an annoying Slack, I think is the best way to put it. Instead of channels, you have these things called servers, which puts some people off. There's lots of amazing free videos on how to get access to Midjourney and connect it to Discord. Honestly, it'll take you less than 10 to 15 minutes. Again, pay the $5 or the $10 if you're going to start using it often. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that prompt we had for the image. I think that bubble one's great. Create an image. Okay. So Midjourney's slightly different in that we have to talk to it by saying, give it a prompt command. And we start by saying /imagine. And we're going to say, we've just asked it to imagine, so we can take away create. And imagine an image of an elephant in the act of knocking over a tree, blah, blah, blah. Now, the way this looks as it works is a little bit different. You will see, first of all, that it says waiting to start. And in a minute, we're going to see it show a percentage as it goes through what it goes through. I'm paying the $20 or whatever, so mine loads pretty fast, but it's weird. You will see, for those of you old enough, dial-up internet, it's like waiting for those images to load, but they start to come into focus, and the higher this percentage goes, the closer and closer it gets to what it is that we want. Of course, these images are very, very different to what DALL-E is going to produce. And so the aesthetic that you're going for, you can sort of find in different places. I mean, it went big and dramatic here. I can click open in browser so that we can look at these a little bit bigger, and I can really look in. I mean, it went big. Let's try. You can do a lot of modification with this. So let's try, first of all, I'm going to have it start with a very different approach, and then I'll show you how to modify. So let's do an in the actor. Okay. The image should be easy to comprehend at a glance. Let's say a photo of an elephant. Yeah. The photo should be easy to comprehend at a glance. They're kind of fussy. And being, I don't know, should we go black and white? I'm colorblind, so let's go black and white. Not clack and white. Black and white. I don't know if you can tell I'm trying to see around this microphone. It's in a really awkward place, and I didn't want to delay starting by trying to move it. All right, so we'll do this, and then I'm going to show you how to do modifications, and then I will give you something special, and we'll wrap up. Okay, so here it is. It's thinking. Looks like it's going to go black and white. Maybe not that bottom right one. Be interesting to see how it interprets that the photo should be easy to comprehend at a glance. At a glance. Wow. You've worn me out through this hour. Oh, okay. These are beautiful. Let's open in browser again so that we can see them bigger. Okay, cool. I mean, it's not the act of knocking down a tree, but okay. So let's say now we were happy with one of those images and we nailed it. It's only a tiny, tiny pixel image, and it's actually big enough for Instagram, but that's what these are for. So 1 is top left, 2 is top right, 3 is bottom left, 4 is bottom right. U just means upscale. So if you're happy with image 2, you just say U2, not the band, and it will turn that into a higher resolution image. Use that wherever you want to. If you're like, 2's close, but it's not quite right, you can say, okay, give me some varieties on image 2, and let's see if that gets me closer to where I wanted that to be. And we'll let it do that for a second. If you hit upscale, we won't do this today just for time, but if you hit the upscale of the U instead, or on one of these that it's now making us, you can then go in and just select regions on it. And that allows you to really hone in. So if we compare top right, this is what we had before. Okay, that's the one we said give us variety on. And you can see in a comparison there, it's definitely focused on those. It's moved the position of the tree. It's moved the position of the birds. And as I mentioned, if we wanted to, we could just upscale number 3 here, put a little thing around the birds there and ask it to give us varieties based on those changes. Another amazing place to make stunning free images for social media. I do think a lot of stock imagery is sort of dead, really. I think that's sort of inevitable. So we did all of these. We did the idea generation. We created a elephant rental company, ethically or not. We asked it for content calendars. We made content for the posts. It gave us hashtags. We asked it for images from the post from DALL-E and from Midjourney, and we converted the post to another channel, which in this case was Twitter, but you could do that on and on and on, and then you copy and paste all of that, tweak it, put it in a sheet, add it to your social media uploader, whatever you might want it to be. Very briefly, because I'm just excited about it, what FOMO does, as I said at the beginning, is either that sort of full service business consulting, or we make co-pilots for you. And these copilots do what you just saw, but automatically. Not 100% automatically yet, but they're darn close. So actually, you would have to say very little, and it will go off and make all your content pillars, make all your content, make all your images, put it in a Google Sheet for you, or automatically add it to something like Buffer, so you can then just approve, disapprove, and schedule. And copilots have a lot of benefits. They work the AI for you, so that saves you massive amounts of time. I already showed you how to save days and days. Now I can show you how to save the remaining bunch of hours. They grow with your business, so they learn what's happening. We are putting those prompts into those copilots frequently. And as a team of expert marketers, business owners, SEO people, etc., that means you are using in AI the prompts that we have researched that are working the absolute best for each scenario. You don't need to worry about learning prompt engineering. You don't need to stay ahead of it. We are expert prompt engineers. We're embedding it into your copilots for you. You don't need to think about it. They are always managed and updated by relevant experts. So again, you don't need to think about them. We, as our accounts, because we do a lot in this, get earlier access to stuff. That means you'll get early access to stuff because copilots are built on what we do. And every single month we add new copilots. So at the moment, there's copilots for social media management, SEO and content writing, and a couple of other things. We've got one for podcasting coming, all sorts of great stuff. And of course, you no longer have the AI FOMO. And what we're doing is it's essentially going to be $8.95 a month for this. Right now, sort of founder pricing, because we're not giving people full access yet. Day one, we'll give you access to the training courses and things where you can actually become a real expert in this stuff if you want to. But it's lifetime lock-in pricing. So $6.95 to set up instead of $8.95, and then $3.95 a month ongoing. That is all the copilots you'll get at launch. Private one-to-one concierge call with me to set them all up for you as a founder member, and then your price won't change. You will have at least 12 plus parts of your business 12 months from now as we add all these copilots, fully automated, doing stuff for you. Our goal is to give you hundreds. Great example, I made a copilot the other day that we're releasing that it connects to my Google Mail, and it reads my Google email every time one comes in, and it keeps a note of what they are. And it prioritizes what they are. It understands what they are. And every night around midnight, it sends me a Slack ready for the morning. And it says, this is a summary of the emails you got yesterday. These are the ones that are important. Of these ones that I think are important, you didn't open these ones. I suggest you start your day by giving attention to these emails. I mean, that's wild. So there's a lot we can do with these copilots that are outside things like social media and content marketing. Copilot.fomo.ai is where you find that. I'll put that in the link to this afterwards, along with a link to the recording. This founder pricing is only for the first 250 members. It is going to go away very quickly. I really appreciate you all joining. FOMO services we talked about a little bit. This is more the custom idea. AI consulting, have us in your business. We'll figure out how AI works for you. dax@fomo.ai for that. This has been a fun hour. I've enjoyed creating a virtual elephant rental company. Didn't think that's where we were going, but great. Any questions, that email address, dax@fomo.ai, just shoot me a note. I'm very happy to answer them for you. Stay on the list, and I will announce up and coming webinars and training sessions. Do consider Copilot. It's only going to get more expensive from here. And I think some of the things we're automating are really quite astonishing. It just means you don't need to worry about AI. That's our job, to worry about AI. And you will be ahead of your competitors, and you'll stay ahead of your competitors because of the team that's behind these things building it. I genuinely enjoy this stuff, if you can't tell. So always happy to answer questions. Thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day.